I'm done with life, and it's all Jermaine's fault. It's always Jermaine's fault. I'm done. Black women, I need to talk to you. This in particular affects Black African-American women and Black women of the diaspora. As a matchmaker, a certified love transformer who has been helping women for 2 decades to be able to attract love, I wanted to share something with you. Because when I did my video sharing with you my top dating site recommendations, I noticed that there was a lot of comments coming in from African-American women stating that there's not many quality Black men that are on the sites I mentioned. And the sites that I mentioned were Luxy, The League, Elite Singles, and Match. There's other upscale sites like eHarmony, and these women have been expressing over and over again that they are not getting matched with high quality, high income earning Black men. And I saw the comments coming in and I was like, I'm not gonna respond because I know how people are. However, I think it's only fair to share with you. As somebody who's an expert in this field and who works behind the scenes and who knows what's going on, it's my position that you have the right to know what's happening behind the scenes. So here's the truth. It's not that Black men aren't on these sites. It's not that quality Black men, Black men who are high income earning men who are looking for committed relationships aren't on these dating sites. Here's the problem. And I experienced this when I was doing matchmaking for millionaire men and very successful men all the time. And that's why I got out of matchmaking for men in general. Black men at a much higher rate said that they did not want Black women. That's the truth. So the reason why you're not seeing Black men on these sites is because they're filtering you out. They are saying no to African-American women, but they're saying yes to everybody else. Let me tell you why I'm saying this. Exponentially African-American women want a Black man. And I get it, I understand. However, this is what I'm going to present to you. I'm going to present to you, how do you know that the man that God has for you is a Black man? 52% of Black men who make over $100,000 a year don't even want to get married. They don't get married. And then a significantly more, 22% of the ones that do want to get married choose to marry outside of their race. So then now the pool of eligible high income earning Black men has been reduced down to maybe like 10 to 13% Black women, all while you have exponentially been focused on attracting a high income earning quality Black man. I don't say this to say that there aren't quality Black men. I don't say this to say that you shouldn't want one. What I am saying is that you should expand what you're asking for. If a man comes along who isn't Black but is willing to love your soul and treat you like a queen, why not? What are you doing? Are you saying you would rather be by yourself than to be happy with a man who doesn't look the way you think he should look? What if God has a man for you that doesn't look the way you think he's supposed to look, and you're missing out on the best love story, all because your mindset is limited to just dating a group of men who don't want us? So here's my recommendation, because I know that feels stung. So first, let it marinate in your spirit. Then second, pray on it. And then third, reevaluate what you're asking for and what you're settling for. Because if you simply learned your value as a woman and what you do for so many people, your nurturing, loving spirit, the fact that oftentimes you save everybody. And there's also a lot that as Black women we have to work on. I get it, because we're constantly being rejected and mistreated by society, then it makes a lot of us bitter and jaded, and we come off as difficult to deal with. And so now there's a stereotype that Black women are difficult and men in general don't want to deal with that. And if you know that I'm speaking to you, then you must heal that. And then broaden your horizons to expect that a quality man is waiting for you. And he may or may not be a Black man. And if you need help in order to prepare yourself to receive that kind of man, it takes nothing from you to get that help. But what is not smart is for you to continue to sit there unhappy, dealing with the man who doesn't know how to treat you, or sitting there by yourself simply because you're limited to what you think you want versus what's already meant for you. Let that sit and lie wherever you want it to. I hope it helps. Bye, divas.
Hey, my brothers, back again, and oh man, the beat just keeps on coming, does it not? It never fails. You know, like I said, sometimes the jokes keep writing themselves. Now, this person, I'm not quite sure. You guys have to judge for yourself. When I first saw her, I think it's a picture of her, the thumbnail, I thought it might have been a guy that was trans with the makeup and the wrap around her hair and then the painted on eyebrows. I thought she might have been trans, or he might have been trans. And I heard the voice, and I think it's a female, but I'm not quite sure, so I don't want to get caught up in that. But let's say, for argument's sake, that this is a woman and she is a dating coach, or what do they call a matchmaker, and she's not telling the real. They're going on online sites and they're looking for guys in certain positions. Number one, you know there's not enough guys at that level for you. Hell, there's not enough guys at that level for just about any female. All the females that you talk about, there's way more females than there are men at a particular education level or income level. There's going to be more. There's not enough to go around, especially when guys date down and women date up. So women start at their level. So if you're at a higher level in the first place, you have no place to go but up, right? Because you're not going down. So as you go up, you find less and less people, but the guys that you want, they're perfectly willing to bypass you and date down 3-4 levels. They're willing to do that. And if they're not, the ones that aren't, then they have their pick. So what you have is basically two different mating strategies. And men don't acquire women for the same reason that women acquire men. Two disparate mating strategies. And so when you have what they call assortative mating, and you're trying to do it by class, now, does it work? Sure, it can work. The thing is that when you do it by class, men are willing to go down a class or two, a class level or two, to find a woman, to find a wife, depending on what he needs. Women have the opposite problem. So that's where the mismatch comes in. When it comes to Black women, like you said, there's a lot of millionaire guys that you see in that league or in these apps. But women, Black women especially, do not just judge on resources. Black women judge on looks. And a guy that has the trifecta, the 666, 6-pack, 6 inches, and 6 figures, he can get any woman, just about. Except for the top, like 0.5% that are in the entertainment and the fame game stuff, he can get any woman. If he's got those three, especially if he's a 6 and above. If he's got a body and he's got the 666, he can get, I would say 95% of women are probably available to him. With the women, it's opposite. Just because she's 6 figures. Let's put it this way. If a woman is a 6-figure woman with no children and she's a 7 and above, she can get a man. She can get men chasing after her all day long. If she's an 8 and above, then guess what? She should have been married already. She's got the pick of the litter. What I don't like about women like this young lady who calls herself a matchmaker, they don't tell the truth. They don't tell the truth. Black women are really one of the pickiest women on the planet, and with the least stuff to give back, with the least amount of tangibles or intangibles to give back. In other words, they think they have the right to be ultra picky, especially if they get a degree. Your degree does not equal getting the man that you want unless you're willing to pay for it. The reason a guy with a degree can get the woman of his choice is because he's willing to give up his resources for that woman. Black women are not. You're looking to get resources. That means you're a seller, not a buyer. And if you're selling an inferior product, then the buyers are not going to come around. A lot of black women are inferior products. Even at 6 figures, they're inferior products. Now, you can be an inferior buyer. If you have the money, you can be an inferior buyer, but you can't be an inferior seller. And that's what women like this do not understand. And this, the last thing I'm going to say about her and about this thing is that I think I told you, if you want to do female content or anything to do with women, guess what? You have to tell them what they want to hear. And I'm trying to tell these black women that are not getting picked by anybody of any race, that you're the most capable, you do more for anything, you sacrifice for everybody, take care of everybody, right? And you're the most amazing woman on the planet, which is bullshit. Which is why a lot of black guys that are at a certain level are avoiding you. Not the way you look, and not that you hate them, quote unquote, is that you don't want the problems that come with black women, especially at that level. I'm reading all kinds of people about women that are been with a dude, had a couple kids, and he just can't be with her because she's insufferable. Black women can be insufferable when they're not even trying, because that's the way they're actually trained. Their mothers and their grandmothers trained them to be insufferable, to be combative. Combative is a natural state for Klingon women. Black women. It is. A combative stance and a combative state is natural for a black woman. If a black woman ain't combative half the time, you know she's depressed. You know she's depressed if she's not combative. You know she's feeling pretty good if she come at you. I remember this is a while back, and God rest her, because I think she just made, if I'm not mistaken, I think she might have made 100. I think she may have. And I love her to death, because she's almost like a grandmother to me. And he try to show elders respect, even though she's a friend of the family. He try to show her respect. And she's a good friend of the family, good friend of my mother. And you know how women tell each other stuff. And get it, 18, 19, 20, she would say something and I would have absolutely nothing to say. I wouldn't. At 30, when you have a couple of kids and you're going back and forth with the other parent, you listen a little less, because you know what? I know you're an elder and I respect your opinion, and I'm hear what you're saying, but you're getting a little too much into my business that you weren't invited in. Now, I respectfully tell you to kind of, hey, why don't you back up? And now, and later on, now I got, 3 grown children and a couple grandchildren, and I got as much gray hair as she does. And she snapped off at me one day and just got in my grill. And I love her and I respect her. Whoa, chick, back up. I don't know who you talking to. It's one thing when I was young, I gave you respect. When I was middle-aged, I gave respect. I'm old with grandkids and with children with problems that I got to help solve. And you getting in my grill about nothing? You need to back up. And that's the snarkiness, man. And every time she sees me, she got something snarky to say. It's like, can't you just say hello and how are you doing and how have you been and something gracious? She always has something snarky to say. I have no clue about what that is. And sometimes I let it go. And then she'll say something real snarky and says, oh, and back up. I said, why don't you just sit over there and leave me alone? What I'm saying is this kind of attitude that black women carry didn't just start with the young folks, right? It didn't just start with the silent generation. It didn't just start with the boomers or the Xers. This is very old. This is weaved into the culture. And until black men had choice, now black men have global choice because of remote work, because of the interconnectedness of the globe. Black women actually flipping out and losing their shit because nobody's picking them. Because a long time ago, man, during segregation, man, my mother used to complain about the stores and the produce and how the stores are kept up and the stores weren't always clean. My mother used to complain about that all the time. But the thing is, it didn't have to be. Produce didn't have to be the freshest, didn't have to be the best. The store didn't have to be the cleanest. Why? Because you had a captive audience. Black people had no place else to go except in their own neighborhood that were actually cornered in, and you couldn't go to a white store or a Latino store or a Chinese store because you were locked in like captives. You only had your local commissary, which I call the grocery store, to go to. And they could sell you whatever kind of quality they wanted, keep the stores any way they wanted because they didn't have to, right? And they slacked off because there was no competition. And when integration really happened, and people don't talk about this, integration really happened, and people like my mother, who's pro-black, she grew up with a sharecropper, and she knows what it's like to be under Jim Crow. She said, bump this. I'm not coming to a store that's dirty, that smells, that doesn't give you fresh food, right? I'm going to a place that does that, whether like it or not. The white stores, because of competition, the place had to be sparkling, immaculate. The food had to be fresh. It had to be arranged properly and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's what drew people in. That's what my mother went to, the quote unquote white grocery stores. Had nothing to do with being loyal. It's just better products, cleaner stores, better service. It is what it is, right? Eventually, the stores that didn't do that went out of business, right? Care what it was it a Latino store, Chinese store, or even a white store. If you don't compete, you're going to go out of business. Those stores started going out of business. They're actually replaced by what? Black stores and black markets that did what? Got in fresh produce, kept the floors clean, kept the shelves stocked and in order. They had to work harder because guess what? They had competition. Same thing with black females. The attitude, the snarkiness, the low-key contempt and hatred that black men have to deal with. Passport bros, SYSBM, dating out, even what they call so-called monk. In other words, we black men have options that they didn't have before. And what's going to happen to the product? Just like what happened to the black stores that didn't want to compete, didn't want to keep decent produce, didn't want to keep their store clean, and went out of business. People stopped coming. They couldn't be sustained. And they got replaced by what? People that did care. People did keep the stores clean. People did keep fresh produce, did keep the store orderly, which they should have done in the first place if they really respected you. Same thing with black women. The nasty, stank attitudes, the entitlement, the snarkiness, the violence, all the stuff that keeps black men away from you or disgusted is actually going to put you out of business. And you're going to have to be replaced by a new set of black women that are willing to be nicer. They're willing to engage, willing to be cooperative, willing to keep the snark down. I know we can't eliminate all of it. Willing to keep it down, willing to be cooperative instead of competitive. If you don't do that, you're going to be replaced. Point blank, period. I'm tired of joking with women. You're going to be replaced because you're not competitive. And especially in America, in a capitalist country, if you're not competitive with the market, guess what's going to happen? The market is going to get rid of you. That's what you see now. That's why you see the 70%, 75% unwed rate. And you claim that you don't want to be married, which is fine. But you claim that black men hate you because they don't want to date you, which is also fine. But the thing is, what you really don't want to say is you're not competitive, and the other groups of women are actually out-competing you for men, period, not just black men. And this woman, who's supposed to be a matchmaker, is repeating the same BS that everybody else has for the last 50 years. Anyway, I could go on, and you guys would love me to rant on this, but that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.